Hey, what's going on, everybody? How's it going? How you doing? Welcome back to the channel. And for this video, we're talking about a Netflix movie. It's called The Third Eye. And this is also an Indonesian film, which means that you're gonna have to read some subtitles because they don't have a dubbed version available. And it's not a new movie. It came out a little while ago, but they just released a second one, so I was like, you know what? Why don't we check out the first one and hop on the franchise train? And this is one of those times where I'm actually legitimately glad that I did hop on that train, because this is actually a pretty damn good movie, although it's not very well made, but I mean, whatever. And when I say it's not well made, I don't mean it's a poorly told story. I mean, the special effects weren't exactly up to snuff. But as far as horror movies go, this movie had pretty much all the elements I needed to enjoy myself. The basic plot of the movie, it's very much like The Sixth Sense. There's a little girl that can see dead people, but the reason why she can see dead people is because at a very young age, her third eye opened, and there's kind of a supernatural explanation for what the third eye is. So at one point, her and her older sister have to go back to the old house that they grew up in, and then the older sister opens up her third eye, and then they have to like try and solve this mystery, and you can kind of figure out where it goes from there. The big difference between this and The Sixth Sense is there is no Bruce Willis-esque character for you to focus on. And for me personally, like I said, this movie had a lot of good elements to it that a horror movie should have. Not all of the scares were 100% effective, but I say the one thing that this movie did do right is it did a great job of developing an atmosphere for you. As in, it did a good job in setting up the entire scenario for you to get scared eventually, whether it was the lighting in a room or the timing or the pacing or whatever it might have been. This movie did a good job of putting you in an uncomfortable place where some shit is about to happen. And I don't speak the language that the movie was filmed in, but from what I can gather, the acting seemed on point for me personally, whether it was from facial expressions or tone of voice. And I really liked the character development between the two sisters because it got you to really care about them, so that when they entered a very dire situation, you're like, oh shit, what's gonna happen? And that's a mistake a lot of horror movies make, is they just go for like these dead-ass jump scares and expect you to be afraid. But the scares have so much more feeling when they have to do with characters that you really care about and you want to know what's gonna happen next to them. And the movie did a good job of getting me to care about these two characters. There's also the one sister's boyfriend, and then there's like a medium who they like have to consult every once in a while. Those two aspects were pretty good. And I like that this was also kind of a horror mystery movie, and that added a whole other element for you to actually give a shit about by the end, you know, by the time the third act comes around. And as usual, one of the most crucial things about a horror movie is the music and the sound effects. And this movie killed both of those aspects, especially the voices. There's a lot of really creepy voices in this movie. But yeah, the music was solid. Could have been a little bit better, but that's kind of a nitpick. It did its job for the most part. And just from a general standpoint, I thought the overall story was really good. Because the movie did put a lot of thematic value in like caring about your family, trying to discover the truth, even if it means doing something very difficult. And when it comes to facing your fears, most of the time you're not alone. And I liked the third act, and I liked the ending of the movie. Biggest negative I have about the movie though is it really overreached as far as the special effects department. However, they didn't overreach so far to the point where it was detrimental to the story. Like some movies do overreach, like with jump scares, like they just try and like shower you with those and expect that to have like some type of density to it. But that's overreaching that can potentially f up your story. Whereas this movie overreached at the expense of you knowing whether or not it had a big or a small budget, and that really doesn't matter. Because if Christopher Nolan has taught me anything, it's that you can tell an extremely awesome story with a ridiculously high budget, or you can tell one with a very micro budget. And the fact that this movie had a micro budget, it definitely showed, and it did spoil a couple things once in a while. But for me, that part didn't ruin the story for me. So that being said, overall, I think for a score out of 10, I think I'm gonna give it an 8.2. Technically, a couple things could have been better, it's true, but for the most part, I knew what they were going for, and I wasn't confused at any point in time. So if you're a horror fan, I would definitely recommend this movie. But anyway, guys, those are my thoughts. What are your thoughts? Have you seen this movie? Have you heard of it? Hop in the comments. Let me know what's up. And if you like this video, give me a like, subscribe, hit the bell, do all that other happy horse shit, and I'll catch you guys next time.